Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel again. So I want to talk about programming languages and basically walk you through what I've learned, why do I know so many programming languages, and also hopefully explain to you the reason why knowing more programming languages can be a good thing, and also how can it be a negative thing if you don't balance them out pretty well. So the reason why I know .NET and C# is because I needed a job in that area. In the area that I live, they were looking for .NET developers, and C# was a language that I knew from the very beginning. My first job was as a C# developer, and I was doing a lot of backend. I wasn't really involved too much in the front end, so that was the language that I was comfortable with. And the reason why I know iOS and why did I decide to do iOS development, and specifically with Objective-C and Swift, and Swift is something that I learned recently, is because I didn't want to be the developer that was always on the back end. I wanted to be innovative. I felt like by having, an application developed that you could actually hold on your hand was the most amazing thing. Like, I really enjoy just developing something and then giving it to my friends to try it out, giving it to my wife to try it out, and I could actually just test it myself. It was much easier for me to give to somebody else. So I was very, very motivated, and I still am very motivated with mobile development. So when I first started working on Objective-C, it was honestly overwhelming. Like, Objective-C and C# are way too different. Also, the way that I needed to connect the UI with the backend, it's just so different. Like, to connect the UI to the backend, you literally have to drag and drop and actually make a visual connection, which they call an IV outlet, to your backend code in order to connect something to the front end. So Objective-C was overwhelming at the beginning. I didn't really get it right away. It took me a few months until I actually learned Objective-C. And it's funny that, at the beginning it's basically slower to learn a programming language. But once you know one language and then you know another language, it's like on the third one and the fourth programming languages, it starts to click. Like, things are similar. You're getting more comfortable with the language. You find some of the patterns that every single programming language has, and yeah, so it's amazing. I love learning multiple programming languages. So the reason why I learned Python as a programming language is because I needed to generate some more extra money. Like, I needed to develop on a side while I was working on my day job. At the time, they were looking for a lot of freelancers, and a lot of the freelancers that we're looking for were in Python. So I had to learn Python. I learned Python in a few days. I made a few programs, and it took me just a few weeks until I was feeling more comfortable about Python. And the most recent language that I learned was Swift, and Swift was interesting because as soon as I look at Swift, I felt like it was a combination of, Objective-C with C# with JavaScript. And at the beginning, it just didn't really make much sense. But as I started practicing, I started following some of the code and learning, how the variables were set, how do you declare the methods, how do you actually set functions, it started to make sense. And I think the takeaway that I have from every other programming language, and the reason why I learned them so fast, is because for every programming language that I learned, I actually make a program. And not only a program that was thrown away, like, I make programs that I could actually offer to people. So as an example, for Swift, I didn't really want to learn. I knew I wanted to learn the language, but I was afraid of learning the language. So what I did instead, I started asking questions about, so what can I release in a week, 2-week time span that could be beneficial for a user and that they could use, and actually could prove myself that I can actually release a tool using Swift. And with that, I could learn, some of the patterns, like how do I declare variables and how is the language actually used. So I did that. I developed a tool from the very beginning without knowing the language, and I pushed myself to do it. I didn't know how to call a method. I didn't know how to pass information from one view to another. So Every time I had a question, it was as easy as Googling that question, getting the answer, and then applying a concept. Okay, so I found another roadblock. Okay, how do I do it? So I would go back and forth until I felt comfortable. So by the time that I had the tool finished, I really felt good about myself, about knowing the language, and now on the next application that I want to make, there's no question about using Objective-C. I'm going to be using Swift, not because I know Swift, it's because there's more things available for Swift now, just because it's so new. So just to reiterate, knowing a lot of programming languages can be beneficial. And I learned Python, I learned Objective-C, I learned JavaScript, I know C#, and I apply C# on a daily basis with my day job, but I also use C# in Unity to make games. So if you were to ask me which one was my favorite language, I would say C#. And the reason I say C# is because that's what I use. That's what I use in my day job. That's what I use to make games. That's what makes sense to me. There's a lot of people that love Python. I love Python as well. But I feel like, using C# has been more beneficial to me. And it's just because of what I'm experiencing right now and what tools I have on my hand. So you always want to use the tool that you're the best, that you're more comfortable with, that you're able to scale. So, and always be willing to learn new programming languages. Don't be that programmer that just because Python does it one way and C# does it another way, you're gonna be all of a sudden a Python hater, or a C# hater, or a Microsoft hater, or an iOS hater, or Apple hater. So just be willing to learn new programming languages. That's always gonna set you apart from everybody else. And at the same time, I'm making apps, I'm making games, and if you don't do well on game development, or if you do well in apps, I think you're gonna find yourself, that you can sustain a hobby or sustain your career better if you know more things. So for me, for example, I make way more money in apps than I make in games, but I love making games. So what do? I try to focus on, making games, but at the same time, I'm making apps that can sustain the lifestyle of a game developer. So I hope that was helpful. I appreciate it again, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to have a conversation with you guys through the comments. And thanks again. This was Dilmer. I hope you appreciate it. Thank you.